The Giants are absolutely a better team right now, point in time, than the Jets. I don't know how you argue that.
Probably true. I mean, the Jets are an absolute mess. Yeah, I would agree.
We've been doing this segment in a different format and on different feeds, okay?
Yeah.
But we've gotten enough momentum behind it, I think, that we're going to try and take it over here now. So we have our Week 6 power rankings.
Yeah.
And the first part of this, what we're going to do is we're going to explain how these power rankings are generated, so I don't think people do that enough. This isn't just subjective. This is actually run through a model that we put together, and it's based off passing stats, offensive stats, defensive stats, rushing stats. We also have strength of schedule factored into there. Bad wins, good wins, bad losses. We have all of that factored into there, okay? And then we do have a subjective side. It has to be. That's just part of power rankings. Power rankings are done on a weekly basis of who we think this week is where the rankings are. Not necessarily, a point in time from past or the totality. We're looking at this week, where are those teams in the rankings. So That being said, here's our power rankings for NFL Week 6. Mm-hmm. We have Minnesota at the top spot, Mike. Now, I know you kind of didn't like that, but between the model and some of the subjective things we put in there, they still came on top. And they are over Kansas City. Now, let's just talk about overall the better team over the course of the season. Do we project them to be the number one team? Probably not.
Yeah.
But at this current point in time, it's hard to argue that Minnesota is not the top team in the league.
I have a very quick refuting argument on that.
Go.
To quote a man who once uttered these words, "To be the man, you gotta beat the man." Woo! Chiefs still number one.
Well,
no one's beaten them yet.
That's okay.
Still number one. Go on. Go on.
All right. After that, in the 3 spot, we have Detroit, Mike, and that one I think is a solid number 3. Baltimore number 4. Now this is where people are starting to have some controversy. Houston, the drop of Nico Collins. We're not going to necessarily factor that in until he's absolutely not played a game.
Yeah.
So, number 5, Houston, with a big win. I mean, an impressive win over the Bills. Have to keep them top 5, in my opinion. Now, this is where people are going to say this is comically high, but Pittsburgh, okay? Pittsburgh is in the number 6 spot. Now, let me explain a little bit behind this and why I think they still should claim this. They are playing extremely good football, in my opinion, especially on the defensive side. There's no better defense for the first 3 weeks, for sure. And, they kind of got found out last week. But I think you can look at this team totality, and I think that their defense stacks up just as well, if not better than the Broncos. And they actually have an offensive system and quarterbacks that can aid and are experienced and have proven to be effective. Now, I think that last game against Dallas is just a game of who had the ball last, basically. Like that was a defensive struggle, and I think Dak did a good job coming down the field. But Pittsburgh still takes the 6th spot here, and this is where the biggest point of controversy is going to be with this rankings, I think, Mike.
Well, it's because Dallas just went into Pittsburgh and beat them. I know the Cowboys had some losses earlier on, too,
Mike,
but I think you're going to hear from the Cowboys.
Look at their rushing. I can't get over the fact that Elliott is still their running back. And then after that, I've never heard of Dowell or Duel or whatever.
Yeah. I think, honestly, Dirk, Buffalo is probably ranked right, but the team has some real issues that they are going to have to look at the trade deadline if they want to be competitive. Like right now, they just don't have enough talent at skill positions on offense, and it's starting to show. Like
in Buffalo?
Yeah, Josh Allen just does not have a whole lot to work with right now. Of course, you got Shakir who's out too, but they just don't have it. And Allen going 9 for 30 against the Texans. Not a good look. The last 2 weeks.
I mean, how much
Buffalo,
of that is him being banged up though, and maybe not even should have been playing in that game?
Well, I think it's part that, and I think it's part not having enough talent around.
No, that's clear.
Yeah,
that's clear.
I just think they've got issues right now on defense and offense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're asking Josh Allen to do too much, so they're probably artificially a little bit too high, especially based off of who they've played so far. You'll probably see them fall in future games. I'm not going to lie. But as it stands right now, we still have Buffalo where they are. Shakir's not a number 1. I don't know what they thought with that. He is not a number 1 wide receiver. He's a good receiver, but he's not a clear number 1. So issues there. San Fran's out of the top 10, and we didn't have them in the top 10 last week. I don't think this actually changed from last week. They were 11. And Mike, I think that we were proven right, if anything. And now Christian McCaffrey's not there. you have to look at it as it stands right now, and he hasn't been playing. So we can't assume that with him in the roster, San Fran's not a top 10 team. After that, Denver.
Interestingly, the run game not that bad for San Fran. That's not really the issue. Mason is like the number 2 running back right now in yardage.
Yeah, but I mean, how much does Christian McCaffrey's pass catching abilities add?
Yeah. I mean, he adds a dimension to it, but I think there are other issues on that offense right now.
Denver, number 12, is going to be another controversially high pick, Mike.
Well, the way the defense is playing, it's not a terrible pick, but we'll get into the Broncos in another segment. They're a very odd team at this point. I do say this. Here's the thing. Looking at these power rankings, I think Tampa Bay fans are going to take some umbrage sitting there at 4-1 and, pretty much being in the lower tier of the teams.
You can't be the worst defensive team passing and be that high, Mike.
Well,
it's going to get exposed.
It probably will, but they might be 5-1 after this week. The other one that I think actually deserves a little bit more of a bump and some love might be Atlanta after getting a big win last week. I don't know how they pulled that out, but they did.
Yeah.
The Falcons, now I made fun of you in week 1, but they're starting to look a little bit better, I think. And Kirk Cousins throwing for over 500 yards is impressive. So I think, Dirk, these are some of the main ones. What I will say here, too, is the Las Vegas Raiders are in deep trouble. Now, that win over the Ravens gives them some standing here. But the Raiders are a disaster.
Well, O'Connell's now playing, right? So it's kind of a question mark of how that's going to turn out. It'd be interesting to see what happens after this week with what the Raiders do. But, Mike,
that team had 3 12-men on the field penalties, an inexplicable penalty that wiped a missed field goal off the board. They were an absolute mess against the Broncos. I know that Denver fans are going to hate me for saying, the Raiders were a disaster. That's why Denver won. But I do think Denver might be getting a little bit too much love for that win, and not enough attention is being posed on how badly the Raiders imploded in that game.
That was bad. And you can absolutely tell in the third quarter that they gave up. Now,
they're a bad team.
Flipping to the bottom end of these rankings, I have Carolina at number 32. But I think there's a significant case to be made that the Browns should be actually the worst team in the league.
Absolutely.
Over the Patriots, Mike. Over the Patriots. Because Deshaun Watson, who still has 2 years left in addition to this year on his contract.
Yeah.
And is going to be paid a $47 million base in the coming years. Looks like a guy that doesn't want to be on the field. And we'll do another segment on this, but I think that there's a case to be made in futures that actually Cleveland is the worst team in this league.
I would agree.
Los Angeles is definitely underranked here. However, they haven't had Cup. They haven't had Puka Nacua.
No, the Rams could get back into this.
Yes,
I mean, they're not that
but
bad.
But as it stands, when the last few weeks they've been playing with like 2 hands tied behind their back, basically.
Yeah.
So you have to rank them really low. I expect that they rise. So Rams fans, chill out, okay? They're going to come up. Anything else on the power rankings, Mike?
I mean, I think Baltimore still is a top 2 team, but it's fine that they're ranked where they are given their record.
Final note here.
Yeah.
The Giants are absolutely a better team right now, point in time, than the Jets. I don't know how you argue that.
Probably true. I mean, the Jets are an absolute mess. Yeah, I would agree.
You want to do Broncos?
Yeah.